After a year of harassment, Laura Black begged her bosses for help, but they didn't know what to do either. Every rule they'd set down, Farley would break. Finally, 2 years after the stalking started, the company fired him. But the stalking continued.
I wasn't going to be pushed around by this person. I was cautious, but, if I had to confront him and stare down a gun, I was ready to do that.
Most important thing is don't engage him. Don't engage in a war, because when people want to be your boyfriend or your husband, and then that doesn't happen, they'll tend to settle for friend. And when that doesn't happen, they will settle for enemy.
Which is just what Richard Farley did. He settled for enemy.
Looking backward, is there anything you could have done differently, do you think?
There's many, many, many things that I could have done and that the company could have done. One thing we would have done is realized early on that the situation was extraordinarily serious. They probably would have terminated him immediately. No questions asked.
In addition, Laura Black now says she would have trusted her own instincts, and in the days preceding the attack, she would not have gotten a temporary restraining order.
That was ultimately, at least in my opinion, what triggered him.
The TRO, the temporary restraining order, the court order, which is meant to control someone's conduct, is not always the best step. While they work often, about 2/3 of the time, they don't work often, about 1/3 of the time. What does that mean? We need to be able to tell the difference between those cases where it's called for and those cases where it isn't called for.
Today, Laura Black is a successful investment banker. She's helped pass anti-stalking legislation in California and says women must learn to say no.
No is a complete sentence. No. I'm not interested. But saying that to somebody that has been raised to be kind and sweet and considerate, and that's very difficult to lose. I mean, it's almost innate.
Very few cases, of course, escalate the way Laura Black's did. But it is estimated that 500,000 women a year deal with unwanted pursuers. Becker says learning to say no at the start can sometimes avert trouble later.
Let's say we went out, and now you would say to me, Gavin, I think you're cute, and I think you're a nice guy, and you're real funny, but my head's not in the right place right now, and I'm not ready for a relationship yet. As a man, I hear the words right now and yet, which means, hey, she thinks I'm cute, she thinks I'm funny, she's not in the right place yet, so if I just hang in there, she will be. Here's a real explicit rejection. I have decided that I don't want to have a relationship with you, and I am certain I will not change my mind. And having come to this conclusion, I hope you'll pursue other avenues, because that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, who can actually say that?
I hope more and more people will, because the fact is that very few men in this country have ever heard that rejection.
So give me some strategies. You've said no. You've said it clearly. What do?
When you have explicitly rejected someone clearly one time, it is my recommendation that if you don't want them in your life, that starts right then, and you never speak to them again. That's it.
Well, that seems a little extreme.
Well, it depends on what the problem is. It's a little extreme to have somebody call you 30 times when you've asked them not to. It's a little extreme to have someone show up at your work or ask your friends what you're doing all the time. It's a little extreme to cause someone fear. Let me tell you how a man rejects. You call me, I'm not interested, I don't call back. And you don't call me 40 times. A man will call you 40 times and call over and over again, because you're not allowed to choose who's in your life. I'm allowed to, I just don't call back.
And after he's called me 30 times.
And then you call him back. What you've taught him is that the cost of getting a call back is 30 calls. And he'll do that, no problem.
While most women will never be stalked, women are frequently approached by strangers. Gavin Becker says once you know them, the ploys used by someone looking for trouble are easy to spot.
I remember one case where a man gets into a woman's apartment. He's helping her with groceries, and he says, hey, I'll just put these on the counter and then I'll leave, because he sees that she's reluctant to open the door and let him in. And he says, oh, it's okay, you can leave the door open like women do in old movies. And he says, I'm late anyway, I've got to go, not my fault, my watch is broken. All that is called too many details. He is using details as a way to distract her from the context, which is, I'm a stranger asking to come into your apartment. He becomes someone that she feels like she knows. Another one is called forced teaming, which is when a man makes a woman feel as if they're sharing some circumstance. gee, boy, we're some team, aren't we? Or, hey, we've got a hungry cat upstairs, because he sees that she's carrying cat food upstairs. Well, we don't have a hungry cat upstairs. He does that because if he can convince you that the two of you share something in common, it's much harder for you to rebuff him then. There's a strategy some men use called typecasting, which is they give a woman a little insult, which she can easily repair. I'll give you an example. Say, hey, you're probably too ritzy a girl to take a ride in my car. And to prove that she isn't that bad thing, she does it. Now, some people say, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be seen as being rude. And they think, gee, you're not allowed to do that. I want to communicate to women you're allowed to do that. You cannot turn a good, decent man who offers you help into a murderer by turning him down. But you can invite a murderer or a criminal into your life by accepting his offer of help.
Part of the problem, says Becker, is cultural. In this country, men particularly are taught that persistence is part of courtship. He's supposed to keep asking, even after she's repeatedly said no. A stalker believes such persistence will pay off, and he'll get the girl, just like in the movies.